calculatable amount that delivers the best balance of open economy and social programs.
You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, I added the word Cuban because that's what we're going to discuss right now. But in any economy, outside of politics, there is a calculatable balance that doesn't destroy either side of it. If you go too high in taxation, then which is happening in New York City, whatever it is caused that kind of thing to happen. And even in a communist nation, this is what's happened. There's no incentive. So everything starts to drop off. If I work hard and I don't get anywhere further than the person that doesn't work hard, again, why would I work hard, right? So again, once you tax above a certain amount, it actually reduces the amount of tax revenue you have for social programs. So socialism doesn't work. A social democracy works only as far as that calculation. Once you go towards socialism too far, then you're reducing the revenue. And I warned about this for years. So it isn't like I'm just saying it because of Zoran and his thing there. But if you increase taxation and your available revenue decreases, you didn't get anywhere. And then, of course, then your GDP suffers, your output suffers. So there's a calculatable amount. Again, the maximum amount wouldn't necessarily mean that that's the current tax that they settle on, because that should be a max. And to change it, it should require, like a super majority or maybe even something larger. I don't know, maybe a constitutional thing, or you could put in there, if this happens, then we increase it, or you just to keep it middle of the road, so it doesn't go too far capitalistic and take advantage of the Cuban people, and it doesn't go too far into socialism where it inhibits the capitalism, and then you lose your tax base. It's probably recommended for every country in the world at this point, because people are greedy on both sides. And again, what we're seeing here is all that social money we spent is being corrupted and moved into corrupt programs, and you're not really getting it. So there's a lot to do to set up the nation of Cuba, and the communists could be allowed to help, but you got to come forward and tell them, hey, what kind of deal can we work out? Because it's inevitable at this point. It's inevitable. So you can come along now, say, we'll make a deal. You have assets frozen. There's all sorts of things you can negotiate. I don't know what they're going to do. I can't represent the United States or what they're going to do, but I can tell both sides what I think the best case scenario is. Looking at the Cuban people and having known Cuban people, and they're generally good people. They're going to want to help one another. They've been through this for so many years. Well, as far as that, the deaths that occurred, for the good of the nation, if a deal can be worked out, it should be worked out. I mean, those people, you can't bring them back. But what did they want? They wanted Cuba to have a different government and be somewhat free, if not completely free. Again, that's the point. There's going to be restrictions in the beginning that could be maybe lightened up later, but there has to be a solid constitution and some solid laws that may be a little restrictive. Well, to keep people safe until we can, again, maybe that's not even part of a law system, it's kind of an initial, I wouldn't say martial law, but the transition period, you have to make sure people aren't going to take advantage of other people. Again, we remember what happened with the Marielitos. So, right. So again, you can move forward with Cuba, and really what the revolution promised can be delivered in a social democracy. But you can't go too far into social world. And you can't go too far into the capitalistic world. You can't be, let's rape every ounce of energy and power and people in Cuba and make money. You can't do that. But then again, you can't do that to the businesses either because they won't invest. So again, you sit down and start negotiating immunity and a way forward. You may end up with a little bit of money back to you that they froze. As long as you're willing to restore Cuba to a free economy and a free world. Again, we're a social democracy, no matter even in Republican world to a certain degree. Right? So again, there's just differing types of social democracy. I mean, we're not 100%. We're a republic, but again, the system of government is generally considered a democracy. Otherwise, something's going to happen, and then where are you going to be then? You're not going to have a future. You're not going to be able to say anything. Well, that's why they would be. I would think that they would be willing to make a deal because they don't have to invest much more. They just say, "Hey, let's make a deal. Let's work together. Let's bring this on." And then you all most likely will go into retirement. Try to get your retirement protected. I don't know what you've done. I don't know what they know you've done. So I can't tell you whether they're going to agree 100% to protected retirements. But as far as what I see, a plane shot down, I mean, if you're willing to work forward, to this free and fair government and economy, then I can't see them saying no. They'd be stupid. All the money they'd have to spend and all the effort and maybe some loss of life. And I mean, even to the point of having to take people out on that side. If we don't have to do it, then we don't do it. And then we make a deal and then that's it. It's not bad. Believe me, the future's bright for Cuba. Very, what's the word I'm looking for? Industrious. It's a very industrious culture. So anybody who can keep those cars running that long have to know what they're doing. I got 1950s and 40s cars. So again, it's not a bad world that could be formed. It actually could be somewhat better than the United States in the long haul. I mean, it obviously was a preferred vacation spot back in the day in the 60s. Open that all back up again. Right. Just need an infusion of money, and you have to establish a real government. You can't say social democracy and then tax them crazy, and they'll all leave. I mean, you own everything at this point, but again, it's probably not the best management as far as what your assets could be, what your taxation could be, what the people programs could be. I'm sure I've heard many of you don't even really care about the people. It's just some shtick. You just make it all up as you go along. We have that same problem here. But there's no reason to continue on in what you're doing. Again, if they don't make a deal with you, that's their problem, not mine, not yours. But the sky's the world. If you're willing to just say, "Hey, let's throw it in," but you could ask to be part of the transition. But again, it's not going to be a communist country, and I don't think communism works actually. For Marx to theorize it doesn't mean that he's a genius. That it's going to actually work on the other side once it's implemented. Most realities is that it doesn't. Now it works for a small group of people to get wealthy and powerful in an anti-powerful way. So again, just sit back and relax and contact U.S. government and say, We're going to begin negotiations if we can from afar. We're going to send you our write up of what we believe we want. Now, don't go too far. Again, they're not going to accept a communist government, and they're probably not going to accept a socialist government, a communist government in the name of a socialist government. But I think they would accept the social democracy because, again, as far as Rubio goes, he wants to protect the people of Cuba. He doesn't want them taken advantage of by capitalistic thugs. And again, it's been so long, you need something like that to bring the people up. Like if we were to actually, let's say we didn't have any negotiation, I didn't say anything, and we actually had a war and we took over Cuba, we would need to install a social democracy to keep everybody alive. Although we might appoint people initially, but the goal would be a social democracy. Well, the Constitution would most likely rule out the type of communist government that was there, even if everybody elected you, which I don't think they would. Right. Well, the new government, you could just negotiate it. Say if the new government would have to sign on to this agreement, this immunity. Again, I'm not a big, uh, I'm not a big fan of the truth, the truth commissions and all that because it's just muckety mucks, doing muckety muck. Right. So again, the best thing is just to cut from what was there and move forward to something that's negotiated, and bygones be bygones. But again, if you're not going to negotiate, this unequivocal free and fair community, or government and all of that, again, you can negotiate for a social democracy. I'm almost positive they would accept it because it's almost mandatory. It's probably smart to do it the way I'm saying to do it, so the government doesn't try to go the other direction into socialism and then ruin everything that's been invested. Again, that's assurance. If you have a maximum taxation amount that's a legitimate amount, basically you can figure it out. You could bring social scientists in, finance experts, and they could tell you if they were being honest. And you have to find somebody that you can trust, and they could tell you the maximum amount you can tax without hurting your tax base, so you can use a percentage of that for social programs. So again, I would just start talking and say, hey, let's cease the games, and we'll get down to it. Uh, Again, you just say our end goal is to turn the island nation over to a transition group and to a new government. But to get there, we need to go through some assurances for all of us, and the new government should be required to sign on to these assurances. Again, this has been a long fought, whatever it was, Cold War, I guess, hard fought on both sides. So I think it's time that you let the people be who you say you consider the people. Again, it's not a bad place to be. I mean, if you're in the Communist Party and you're wealthy in Cuba, I'm sure you had a pretty good life. But I mean, does it really make you happy that the people are oppressed in that way? I mean, does it really? Or are you just afraid to let them go? Well, negotiate it. That way you don't have to be afraid. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.